What's up, everyone? Well, I'm back to doing my lures, making some plastic lures. And I'm doing that with wood. I know, crazy, huh? I've had some people say, why would you even bother doing that? Grinding them out with wood on Facebook. Well, the reason is one, it works, and two, I get bored. I got nothing to do during the wintertime. Can't be out fishing. And what else is there to do? This guy right here was a test run, and I have the worm right there. It turned out pretty good. It's got some jaggedy edges because of the wood, but overall, I mean, there's a lot of action on that. A lot of action on it. It's squared instead of round, but a lot of your Fusion X and companies like that are pour molds like these are going to be like that. So to ask why I'm doing it is it's cheap. Molds, especially multi-molds, to get one that would do this many is going to be at least $20 some. To get one that does 3 different types of worms, I mean, you're talking, there's $60, 60 some dollars. The wood does fine, but you just got a little extra work. You have to take something like Vaseline and put the Vaseline down into the wood before you pour the mold so that the worm will pull out, or whatever you're making, So all in all, that's why I do it. I love DIY stuff. I've always been a fan of DIY stuff, and that's my project. As you can tell, I've got one more almost done, and I've started a second one. And all I'm doing is taking a small chisel. That's a 1/4 inch, I think. If I'm not mistaken, that's a 1/4 inch wide. Yeah, it's a 1/4 inch wide. I think it even says it on it, 1/4 inch right there. That ain't going to focus on that, but whatever. It's a 1/4 inch wide, and I use that to just slowly start taking material off. And I will say one thing, it does help if you're going to start making these, if you do the designs with the grain of the wood. So these guys going against the grain are going to be a little harder. I'll probably make most of my cuts going this way because the wood's obviously going to come off easier going with the grain. But yeah, it's a project that I like doing. It's a long cold winter here in the Midwest, nothing to do. I've got tons of remelts to do. I'm going to get some clear plastisol, some brand new plastisol, so I can make my own colors. But that's the next big project I'm doing, is trying to make my own molds and make my own lures. Mostly worms because they're the easiest, but I've got one that I kind of messed up over here. I'll show that one. Now that looks like it's burnt. That's not burnt. Well, it is burnt, but not from the worm material, the plastisol. It's I tried heating it and actually scoring it with a torch, a little blowtorch thing, seeing if that would make the worms come out smoother. It did not. So these guys, the theory works great on them. What I ended up doing is going too deep. So I got to watch that. And the reason for it was I was using a Dremel tool. The Dremel tool, 1, cut them too wide, and 2, cut the material too quick. Then my second, I'm doing a paddle tail. As you can tell here, it's going to be a paddle tail worm. I used a drill to kind of countersink things because I knew the Dremel tool was getting too out of control. So to help this get through, I went ahead and drilled countersinking drills to help chisel that through. Well, as you can tell, that didn't really help either because things are still too deep. Now this one will work. I just got to watch how far I pour. So all of these will work if I watch how far I pour. These guys I can salvage easily enough, but I got to take the tails way down in, and then just not fill it as far. That's going to be the key to fixing those. Other than that, I think I can salvage this one. These ones are so wide. I wanted them wide and squared off like that because Ike, good old Mike Iaconelli, had the Berkeley Havoc series. His Ike series were wide and thin. I obviously went too deep with those, but now I can control how thick I want them, though. So it's not a total loss, but that's what that was for. That was a design off the Mike Iaconelli, the Ike series from Berkeley's Havocs that I loved, and they don't make them anymore. So the entire Berkeley Havoc line is gone away, and the only ones you can find are what's in stock in stores. That they're once they run out, they run out. So, and they're getting real hard to find those. So yeah, that's what that's for. I wanted a nice, thin, wider, flat style worm. Kind of acts like a tapeworm. It's got a really unique action. Instead of the side-to-side stuff, it kind of does that motion. It's a unique worm, and I've caught a lot of fish down in Florida. That's where I'm getting the best use out of them. I've caught fish here with them, but they excel down in Florida, especially the pearl white one and what was the other color I used? I knew I used pearl white, and I think it was just a black and blue fleck, if I'm not mistaken, down in Florida. But it was a lighter blue. It's not quite the black blue fleck that they use in their power bait worms. So yeah, so that's what that one is. And like I said, I burned that with a torch on purpose to try and smooth it out so that the molds would come out a little smoother. But it's wood, so it's going to have imperfections and stuff. But while they don't look great, fish bite them, and that's all I care about. So it's a fun little project to do. So yeah. And that, like I said, is a paddle tail. That's what that one is. Paddle tail worm. Got a little too wide in the... Yeah, she's a little too wide down here for a paddle tail. I think I can salvage all these ones pretty easily. I just hope I didn't drill too far with those. If I did, I can just cut that off when I go to make them. Like I said, the wood ones are not the cleanest looking. Wouldn't be something you'd want to do if you were going to sell them, but they're cheap. They're cheap if you're wanting them for yourself. If you're going to take a bunch of old worms and remelt, just for yourself to save some money, hey, it's a fun project if you're into doing stuff like this, DIY stuff, and you want to give yourself something to do for the winter. But yeah, so that's the Mike Iaconelli copies. Those are just supposed to be little, I'm drawing a blank. The Ned rig. They're just a small Ned rig. They're really small, and they're the ones with the forked tail. The reason I did that is Bass Pro sells both, the ones with that and the ones with the tail and without the tail. If you want to go without the tail, it's still a standard size finesse worm, a Ned rig worm, that you just rip the tail off and you've got a regular worm without the tail. So that's why I did that. I figured put the tail in, you've got some. So in all actuality, I could pour these without even fixing the tail and still have the Ned rig finesse worms there. So not a total loss on that, but they are a little wide for a finesse worm, but yeah, it is what it is. Using the Dremel tool to try and save time and make things a little smoother did cause me some grief. But I got done with these ones real quick because of using the Dremel tool. But these guys, I am merely 100% doing nothing. Doing nothing on these guys but hand carving it. I'm using a wood chisel, but I'm not beating it with a hammer or nothing. I am just merely pushing it through there and wiggling it and pushing and just slowly taking that wood out, so it's taking a little longer. But hey, I got a long winter ahead of me, so I've got about 3 months before we're even going to think of being able to fish again. So yeah, it's not that big of a deal, and I love doing it. Like I said, I love doing it, so it gives me something to do to keep me out of trouble during the winter months, and keeps things cheap. Like I said, this right here would be 60 some dollars for that many worms. For a mold that would do that many worms, you're talking at least 60 some bucks, and that's just for pour. If you were to do injection molding, it's way more than that. So the temperature you heat the plastic to, 360 some degrees, 340 to 360 degrees, doesn't hurt the wood at all. Like I said, all you got to do is make sure you're putting something like Vaseline or something down into the cover all the surface area. You want to cover all that surface area. If you do that, you're golden. You're 100% golden. As long as you do that, you're gonna have no problems. The worms will come right out once they cool down a little bit, and then you get guys that look like this. And I mean, I don't think, it's not all that bad. They don't look that bad. Fish are gonna bite it, no doubt about that. A lot of good action on it. Like I said, it's squared instead of rounded, but a fish ain't gonna care about that. Ain't no way a fish is gonna care about that. Yeah, and the tail's not quite because of the wood. I can't get the wood as shaped, so it's got a little bit of jaggediness to it, but who knows? That's, they catch fish, and who knows, maybe that's why. Maybe they disturb water a little differently. Either way, I've always been a proponent for throwing things that nobody else throws, and for throwing things that are a little different, and that's different. There's no doubt about it. So in my theory is that's probably why they're catching fish. So I'm not going to worry about that kind of stuff. That's how I catch fish. So as long as they keep catching fish for me, I don't care. I'm having fun building them. So yeah, I just wanted to shoot a quick video and put something out there of what I'm doing. And I will probably show some video footage of me making these things, doing a little bit of the woodwork, because it is tedious. So I won't do too long of a video on it, but it is tedious because I'm hand carving it, basically. Old school. Little House on the Prairie days comes to mind when you think about what I'm doing, but it's fun. I like it, so I don't care. People say what you want, saving me money, and I enjoy it, and gives me something to do. I'm not harming anybody. I'm staying out of trouble. So yeah, just wanted to show that. So guys, I hope you got something you guys can do if you can't fish during the winter. Like I said, the Midwest, our waters don't get cold enough to actually freeze over and let us do ice fishing, but yet it skims over, so you can't do regular fishing. Most of our lakes where we're at here in the Peoria area, they close the lakes down until March or thereabouts for the duck hunters. So we can fish them after 1 o'clock, 1:30, somewhere around there, but not on boats, things like that. So it doesn't do no good with no boats being out there. Can't break the water, the ice on the top of the water, so there's no fishing. So pretty much by the ending of October, early November, we're done. So got to have something to do to keep you occupied, and mine is this year's trying to go cheap with lures so that we don't have to keep spending so much money when we're out there doing this. So, and they're working, so that's the main thing, So guys, I hope you guys can keep those lines tight. I hope you guys live in areas where you don't have these problems, but if you do, hey, it's something to do. And I do have a video series out right now that I'm going to be putting up the final video of how to put the reel back together on maintaining your bait casters. So check that out, because it's something to do, and it's something that's needed, especially if you tournament fish. You don't want those things giving you fits while you're out there. It's not a good thing. When you're tournament fishing, your equipment has to work, and it has to work at top notch. And the KastKing gear, I don't have too many problems with it, you know. I do the regular maintenance to them, but even when I go a little further than I should, I don't have problems with it. I do swear by my KastKing gear. It does the job. That's what matters. So guys, on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you enjoyed this, and like I said, I will put out a video. It won't be very long because I don't, you know, this is pretty tedious work. You're just going to see somebody doing old school woodworking with hand tools, and yeah, it's not going to be that exciting probably, but I'm going to put one out there because it is kind of neat still for those that like it. So other than that, we will let you guys go and keep it KastKing, keep those lines tight, and find something to do that's still fishing related inside, you know, cleaning gear, getting things ready for the tournament season, because while it's a long winter, March will be here before we know it, guys, and those tournament seasons will be up. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Later, guys.